Hello and welcome to today's presentation, Etymologies. Etymologies are the origin, formation, and development of words throughout centuries. Or in other terms, the birth, life, and occasional death of words when a term becomes obsolete and exits out of the language. Examples of obsolete words in English would be begrumpled, which would be to be in a bad mood, displeased, or misconfrumple, to rumple, crease, something such as clothes. For example, in the Victorian days, a lady would misconfrumple her beautiful dress when she sat down. So even though you probably didn't know these words, you will have recognized their meaning because current words in English have been derived from them. For example, to crumple. So a key interest in the study of etymologies is the changing or the transformation of the meanings of word over time. What is the etymology of the word itself? Well, it comes from the Greek etymon, true sense, and logia, study of, thus meaning the study of the true meaning of words. What is the interest of studying etymologies, you might ask? Well, the late Argentinian philosophical author Luis Borges, who was famous for his great erudition and wrote in 5 different languages beautifully, said that they were essentially love affairs between words. And when asked whether these love affairs could be as fascinating as human love affairs by the French literary critic Bernard Pivot, he replied, "They certainly last longer." It's a very interesting answer from this man with great erudition. So it's the longevity and the evolution of words which makes their study so interesting. Etymologies form an essential part of the study of philology, which is the study of language in its entirety. So I invite you to awaken your interest in the subject and join me in this brief investigation of etymologies, which will reveal their fascination and their power. As I said, they're a journey through time, which in turn gives us more clarity and depth of understanding into the meaning of language. Before proceeding, however, it's important to bear in mind that the English language is more democratic than any other, in the sense that throughout the history of English, throughout the centuries, it's incorporated a vast amount of words from different languages, ranging from Norse, Anglo-Saxon, Greek, Latin, French, Dutch, and many, many others. So we're all familiar with a wide range of words which have been assimilated from foreign languages, and the examples are rife, such as cookie from Dutch, smorgasbord from Swedish, karma from Hindi, or to act in a gauche manner or to have savoir-faire from French. These are terms that we use very frequently. English is thus a non-prescriptive language, unlike French, which, guided by the French Academy, tries to exert a conscious control and a strict control on which terms can be officially included in the French language and in dictionaries, for example. But in practical terms, this could be said to be a lost battle, because hundreds and hundreds of words from English are already in daily use in French, such as jogging, drive-in, ticket, super, pressing, t-shirt, jeans, to mention only a few examples. In English, approximately 80% of words have a foreign etymology, which is a huge percentage. 60% have a Latin or Greek etymology. In fact, the more intellectually sophisticated terms, such as polity or oligarchy, tend to be of Greek origin. So it's not by accident that English has become the predominant language in the world. It's borrowed words from so many other languages that it has the largest number of synonyms of any language in the world, over 500,000, which is literally mind-boggling. In English, you can express ideas because of the fact that there's so many words and synonyms. We can express words and concepts with great precision and concision. And this is key in many areas such as air traffic control, broadcasting, military communications, banking, science, technology, and artificial intelligence. There are 3 distinct categories of etymologies. The first one yields only a historical insight and nothing more. For example, ghetto comes from gettare in Italian, which means melting metal. In the 17th century in Venice, there was a foundry where metal was melted and molded into various shapes. And when that foundry was no longer active, Jews, who were being ostracized at that time, were forcibly confined to that part of the city. So they said, this doesn't grant us any understanding into the word conceptually, it just gives us the historical introduction or genesis of the word. The second category grants a greater understanding of the word from a conceptual point of view. Vicarious, for example, from vicarius in Latin, which meant a vicar or priest, literally the intermediary between God and man. So to live vicariously means to live through the vector of somebody else's experiences. Rival, rivulus in Latin, was a person living upriver of another, rivulus meaning river, and as such represented a danger because they could control this all-important source of power, which was water, by building a dam, diverting it for irrigation, or even poisoning it if they were malintentioned. Hydro conflicts can be said to be the wars of the future in arid areas such as the Middle East. So the ancient Romans already understood this, and studying this etymology gives us more insight into the meaning of the term. Personality comes from the Greek word prosopon, meaning the mask that was used in ancient Greek theater that had different expressions, tragic, comic, for example, and these masks had a very large frontal area, and they placed emphasis on the mental qualities of each personality in the play. Our personalities are the intrinsic qualities that characterize who we are and that are recognized by other people. So again, this etymology gives us insight into the term itself. To procrastinate, from the Latin procrastinare, which literally meant that which belongs to tomorrow. So by becoming aware of this etymology, the temporal deferment, which is inherent in this action of procrastinating, putting off through laziness, it gives us a better understanding. The third and most interesting category are those that have a predictive value. They inform us of the effect that will be produced. Passion, for example, comes from passio in Latin, which meant suffering. Thus, when you have an excess of passion, it can lead to suffering, such as the passion of the Christ. Did you ever ask yourself why they say the passion of the Christ? Decision comes from decidere, to cut off from any other course of action. This in turn sets us on a course that will ultimately determine our trajectory and where we end up in the future. So it has a predictive value. Prejudice comes from the French préjugé, which literally means to pass judgment on somebody before trial, or in other words, to hold a premature and hence non-informed judgment. So this is inherently dangerous because it can lead us to make bad opinions that aren't based on all the fact. All things have an origin, like the universe itself, and the study of this origin helps place the phenomenon in context and ultimately better understand what they mean. Charles Darwin wrote that a species that was not capable of explaining its origins did not deserve to survive. Very provocative and quite harsh words. The father of modern linguistics, Noam Chomsky, holds that the capacity to acquire, to generate, and to transmit language is unique to our species. And because it's the most important vector of communication between human beings, it literally constitutes who we are. The contemporary American philosopher Richard Rorty takes this line of reasoning one step further. And he claims that since the world does not speak, a very poetic and interesting metaphor, that it is only in our verbal communications and our statements and descriptions that we can make allegations which can be held to be true or false. So, get in the habit of looking up etymologies. They're wonderful resources online. It'll broaden your culture, your understanding, and your mastery of the language that you speak, whether it be English or another language. It will increase the clarity of your thoughts and ultimately your ability to communicate effectively and to influence others. Using some etymologies in verbal presentations or in writing also demonstrates erudition, and thus it's a very important asset. It can give some panache to your presentation. So thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and check out related videos and links. Thank you.